I guess it's been about 15 years now that the glass beads have been out.
GPW is all about sharing and being that fall-to place where artists can go to have their imagination go wild.
It really allows people to stretch their own work and explore some new materials. We get to go down and see the work that people are doing with our products. It's really open for everybody. We became 100% employee-owned.
Welcome to a special episode of the Emerging Artist Podcast. That sounded kind of funny. Sounds kind of like this is an episode of Different Strokes, but nonetheless, Shiree, Ingram, and I had such a great time talking to Dana Rice from Golden Paintworks. We learned so much that we decided to split this interview up into two separate episodes. So this is part one of our interview with Dana Rice from Golden Paintworks, and we're just going to jump right in. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the case may be in your particular situation. I'm Scott Markowitz from Reinvention Studio Lab. I'm joined here by Shiree Ingram, and we are hosting this episode of the Emerging Artist Podcast. And we have a very special guest today, Shiree, don't we?
We do. We have Dana Rice with us today. She is the director of Golden Paintworks. She handles their commercial and architectural coatings division of Golden Artist Colors. And a lot of artists use Golden products. I'm very familiar with them. Most people know Golden probably as a manufacturer of fine art materials, particularly fine art acrylics. But Dana, could you explain to us what else you do? And so happy and honored to have you join us.
Yes, we're very honored to have you on the show with us.
Oh, thank you very much. And I'm really delighted to be here today as well. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I hope I can share a little bit about what we do here at Golden. And like you said, most people know us for our fine art and fine art acrylics in particular, but we actually do quite a bit more here than just that. And from my side of the world, I represent the Paintworks division of Golden, and we do basically three main things on this side of the business. One of the things we focus on is private label. So that basically means that we produce paint products for other people and fill it under their label. We don't see products out there in the world with all kinds of tech in it that know how to formulate paint, and we will make paint for other companies. So usually it's that our unique expertise in color and is what starts those relationships for us. But say that we take private label very seriously, and so I can't talk about who our customers are on that side of the business. But there is one exception that is pretty fun, and a lot of people have heard of Bob Ross.
Wow. Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah, it's such an iconic brand, and we were lucky enough to have them come to us in 2019 and say, hey, we're looking for a new partner for manufacturing our paint, and would you guys be interested? We've been working with them ever since 2019, and it's really fun. We actually have a stand-up mannequin of Bob Ross in our hallways, so we get to see Bob every day.
Oh, I love that. And what a wonderful relationship to have developed with him. And
Do you get to rub his hair?
No, but we can have his squirrel.
My son actually had one of the chia Bob Ross plants.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
A happy little plant.
He had just such a huge impact on everybody, artists as well as people that maybe aren't artistic. It's such a positive impact. So what a wonderful experience for you guys. What other thing, I think you discussed 2 points already that you guys fulfill. What is the third one?
In addition to private label, and then we also do work with some other companies that use our products in the production of their products, which would be things like hand-painted wallpaper or giclée prints. And then the thing that people know is our Golden Paintworks decorative finishing products. Mm-hmm. We call them GPW products. And then we also have a Golden Paintworks branded line of mural and theme paints. Those are the more public side of what the Paintworks division does.
That's wonderful. On my Instagram, I follow quite a few artists that are muralists that use the products, and just amazing. I love the brilliancy of a lot of the colors. Maybe for our listeners too, how and where was Golden Paintworks formed, and what was the purpose at the beginning?
Yeah, so Paintworks as a division started, it's actually been around a pretty long time. It started back in around 1995. And what was funny is that in those early days, we still had the acrylics. Somebody came to us and they said, hey, your glazes are really nice, and couldn't they be used on a wall? And if you'll remember back in the 90s, that whole sponge painting kind of thing was really big. So, did you ever do any of that, Shiree?
Oh, yes. Sadly, in my unprofessional beginning of faux painting, I did my house, friends and family's homes, and I remember back in the day, nobody really understood how to work into corners, and so you would have this whole outline from the ceiling, like an inch or 2 inches all the way around, in the corners, around the ceiling, and nobody seemed to understand how to work any of that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to try back then.
That was one of their first product lines, was wall glazes. It was interesting because there was the Sears store. Everybody knows the Sears chain. They had a number of stores that were focused on home goods, and so we had the opportunity to put our wall glazes as a display into a number of these Sears stores. And we thought, oh, great, this is a great opportunity. It's a well-known brand, Sears, and they have a lot of stores. We'll make all kinds of money doing this. And well, we did the installation, and part of the deal was that we would have an artist go to the stores and do a presentation and show people how to use the glazes, the wall glazes. And that was great, because every time that we had somebody there, the product sold out, and it was like, oh, this is great. The problem was that when nobody was there to demonstrate it, the products didn't move very fast. It wasn't long, and the whole initiative got canceled, and we had to take all of our glazes and go home. But that wasn't all bad, because just having had that experience, we learned a lot. And then that was when some of the larger house paint manufacturers learned about us as a company and started coming to us asking if we could make some DIY products for them. That actually kicked off our private label business that didn't exist before. And then also through that experience, we said that didn't really work, but maybe we could make a line of decorative finishing products. We know how to do this, and there's definitely an interest out there. Was when we started with the Proceed line, and we started the development of the products that eventually would be our decorative finishing collection.
And I love the Proceed line, and that's really my start in using the products. Like we were talking earlier, I guess it's been about 15 years now that the glass beads have been out, and that personally has been just a huge hit for me as a decorative artist. And I've traveled all over the United States doing different glass beads finishes and incorporating different things into it. It's just such a gorgeous product. And one of the things that helps sell it is that the glass beaded wallpapers are hard to install, and then you have a very heavy line in between the wallpaper being applied, and so that's another reason why people like the glass beads so much. But yeah, that was my beginning using your Proceed line, and I just love a lot of your other products as well. Matte metallic texture I love, and just, yeah, it's nice. I like new innovative products coming out. Makes it exciting.
Yeah, the whole idea behind the line was to develop a shorter set of products, but things that could all be intermixed. So the word toolkit came up a lot around the time that it was developed as a way to allow people to intermix the pigments, the glazes, the textures, and have it all work together. Part of the idea was that decorative artists could invest in the number of products that they needed to buy to do their craft, but then also create a huge number of finishes from that shorter set of products. So all of that is aligned really well with the mission of Golden Artist Colors. This is something that's from our foundation, but our mission to grow a sustainable company dedicated to creating and sharing the most innovative, imaginative tools of color, line, and texture for inspiring those who turn their vision into a reality. And that's a lot, but at the end of the day, we're tool makers. That's what we do, is whether that's on our decorative side or our fine art side, we make the kind of the, so to speak, raw material or the tools that allows people like you and other decorative artists and fine artists do what they do best and really use their imagination and go in all kinds of different directions with these products. So that's what's exciting for us, is to make those foundational pieces, but then just be amazed to see what people do with them.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I think you give artists certainly plenty to work with and always creating new things. It's wonderful.
Yeah. The thing I love, Dana, about the mission is that you have incorporated the words dedication and sharing in there. And I think that's really the spirit of what it is that you guys do. Is it's not so much about having people use the tools the way that you've envisioned, but you want to share this broader set of tools for people to be able to let their vision come to life. And I think that's so cool. That's so nice to see that.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Yeah, that's really for us. And thanks for picking up on that, because it is about relationships for us and sharing. And we are so lucky to have relationships with so many different artists, and we have fine artists that work on site here with us. It's just always so fun to see what people do, whether they're actual gallery represented artists or whether people are just picking things up to do on the side as a hobby on the weekends. And every week, our receptionist that answers the phone when you call is an artist. She does fabulous work, and she just is something that she does on the weekends for relaxing and for her family. And then over in our material and application specialist area, where they answer phone calls from artists and emails, we have gallery represented artists and part of that group. And some of our paint makers are artists. And it's every time that we have a employee show here, and we have one actually right now in the cafeteria that's up, and it's just always a thrill to see what people create. Whether it's people outside the company or in the company, it's just a lot of fun.
GPW is all about sharing and being that fall to place where artists can go to have their imagination go wild. You've seen a lot of evolution in the art scene, right? So I would like to have you maybe share with us and talk to us a little bit about how those changes in the art scene have driven changes in the company over the years. Have you seen like distinct stages of evolution?
Yeah, sure. It's funny that because with art, there's some things change and some things stay the same. I take oil paint, for example. Oil paint has been around for, if not thousands of years, and yet it's still around today, and people are still painting with oil paint, and that process hasn't really changed a whole lot. There's some innovative products, but basically the way it works is still the same. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't really know, but the founding of our company was first with oil paints and then later with acrylic. So we've dealt with both. I think the acrylic world has changed much quicker. The acrylics really have only come into existence since about the Second World War, around that time, shortly thereafter, some of the early lines of acrylics, and then it got really going in the 60s. And New York City was one of the hubs, and that's where Sam Golden, who is the founder of Golden Arts Colors, with his uncle Leonard, in the development of that first acrylic. So that really kicked off a whole new set of experimentation in the art world. And it was really a very time of renaissance, I would say, with artists that later became very famous that were using these products, and many who didn't. Still drove a lot of experimentation in the acrylics. And that was a whole new medium, and that's what's developed in our line, especially on the fine art side, but then also some of that has crossed into the decorative side, is a lot of the textures and a lot of different types of materials beyond just the color can use to either change the sheen of their product and make it either glossy or matte, or change the viscosity of the product so it's either thinner or thicker. And one of the other ways that you can change your product is when we developed the open acrylics, which was, I think, don't quote me on timing, but it was about maybe 15 to 18 years ago, I think, open came out. And the idea of open was to slow down the drying of acrylics. So that was always one of the things that people either loved about acrylics or they hated about acrylics, was it dried fast. And so when acrylics hit the market, people were coming from a place of oil paint and they were like, "Whoa, this dries so fast." But it really allowed people to do things that they couldn't do before, and they could build up thicknesses in ways that really couldn't happen with oil paint. And so it just opened up a whole new dimension in ways that art could be created. And the open acrylics was a part of that, because then it gave people the opportunity to use a water-based, get a little bit more back to the way that feel of an oil paint was. It still dries faster than an oil paint, but it gave people that working time that they were missing with acrylics. So that was a unique innovation for us. And then going a little bit more recently, one of the products that we launched maybe 10 years ago was the Core watercolor. And that is based on a binder which was new to the watercolor industry. So watercolors are, obviously, that's a very water soluble and lays down. What the Aquasol allowed us to do, which was unique, and again, watercolors have been around for years, but the Aquasol binder allowed us to have really bright colors. That was something that's really a differentiator in the watercolor lines, is that a more traditional binder has a little bit of a yellow cast to it that dulls down the colors a little bit. And so with the Aquasol binder, which is very clear, it allows all the vibrancies of the colors to come out. And so it's fun. It's been a fun journey for us to be able to not only work with some of the traditional elements of art, but then also stretch those boundaries a little bit and see where we can go with some newer technology entering into these more traditional materials.
And all this growth and expansion, if I understand correctly, it began really in 1980. And is the facility something that other artists and the general public could tour?
Yeah, we have tours. The company began in 1980. That's when it was founded. And we are in New Berlin, New York, which is a tiny town. And if you stuck a pin in the middle of the state of New York, that we'd be pretty close to where that is. We're about maybe 40 minutes from Cooperstown, New York.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people know Cooperstown because of the Baseball Hall of Fame. We are in the country, and we're here because back in 1980, Sam Golden, who is the founder of Golden Irish Colors, he was retired. He had worked in New York City his whole life and had developed paint down there. And he said, "Oh, we're going to go to the country and retire." That lasted about 2 years. And he was bored, and he didn't want to play golf. And so that's when Sam and he invited his son, Mark Golden, who is still here with the company. And he said, "Hey, what do you think about starting to make our own paint again and selling it to artists?" And Mark, who had never worked in the paint industry before, he was like, "Yeah, I guess so. I'm game. Let's do it." And so that's how the company was formed. It was 5 people and 900 square feet. They turned the old barn into a paint making facility, and that's how it all got started. And we are on the same property now. So the property that Sam bought as his retirement farm never had any animals, but is now where the company is, and we do all of our manufacturing out of here. We started it with 900 square feet, and we now have 50,000 square feet. And then we basically outgrew this building, so we have another facility that's 45,000 square feet in a neighboring town, and that's where all our finished goods are stored, and we ship out of that warehouse.
Wow.
But people can come, and if you're driving around the beautiful central New York hills and you want to stop in, people are welcome anytime. We have a self-guided tour that takes you through a little bit of the history and how the paint is made. And then we have a fine art gallery here on site, and we always have an exhibition going. We have about, I'd say maybe 5 or 6 exhibitions throughout the course of the year, so it does rotate. And we also have a little store on site where you can see all of our products. If you call ahead of time, you can even have somebody come if you have questions about the product, and they can answer some of those questions for you while you're here. We also do bigger tours of the full factory, and you get to go down on the manufacturing floor, but those we only offer about 2 times a month. You can look on our website and find out when they're going to be scheduled, but those are by appointment only. Because what ended up happening is, especially in the summers when the weather's nice up here, we were getting so many requests for tours that we said, we've got to find a way to combine people because we can't keep doing this every single day. But it's fun, and we love having people come. So, yes, people can definitely come take a tour.
It's wonderful. I love that you do the I can't say the word exhibitions. There we go. Yeah. Are those artists from all over the world, or is that something that is mainly local artists?
Yeah, it really varies. We actually just took down a exhibition that featured Ronnie Landfield, who is a well-known artist. And now what we have in there is we call it the Made in Paint show, and we do this one annually, and it's a collection of work from all the artists that attended last year's residency program.
Okay.
So separate from Golden Artist Colors, but Mark Golden started a residency program for artists, and there's a barn across the road. It was turned into an artist residency, though, so there's 3 main working spaces, and it's a juried residency, so people have to apply and their work gets reviewed, and only about 20 artists get accepted each year. And they come for about 3 weeks, and they get to work in the space that they can do whatever they want, basically. And they also have access to learning more about acrylics while they're here, if they choose that they want to do that. We'll have people go over and do presentations and answer any questions they have. And of course, they have access to all the materials that we make. So it really allows people to stretch their own work and explore some new materials and have some dedicated time, even if it's just to further a direction that they may already have started working on before they even came. So it's exciting for us as people that work in the manufacturing side, because always when the residency program is in session, there's always an open studios night towards the end of each residency. And we get to go down and see the work that people are doing with our products. It's great for everybody in the company, but especially for the people that are in the paint making or in the filling side of it, where they don't really have as much connection to artists. And having this residency program right next door really gives them that understanding of the paint that they put in the jar and how somebody is actually using it, and the whole broad range of spectrum of work that people can create with the products that they make every day. And it's great for them just to be able to talk to the artists and really see how much the artists appreciate the things that they make. So it's really open for everybody.
That's an incredible program. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. And earlier when we talked a little bit about, Scott had mentioned relationships, those kind of things build strong relationships with artists. And you guys said that, they want to continue and create more, and I think that's just absolutely wonderful. I have a feeling it's probably very gorgeous up there as well, in an atmosphere that in nature that also is very calming and helps you be creative.
Time of year. Yeah, like in the spring, it's absolutely beautiful in that part of New York.
It really is. And where our main building is, I think there's one other house that you can see, but You can see it is rolling hills. There's open farmland. There's woods. We have in our main building, there's a lunchroom area, and they built a kind of a deck off the lunch. You can see for miles out there and it's all just kind of wilderness farmland. But we have neighboring cows.
Oh, I love
That's fun.
it. Are there
And
a lot
we have
of
deer.
pictures? Artists use a lot of cows in their pictures?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, so a ready model right there next door. But it is really beautiful, and even in the winter it's beautiful here. But we definitely get more visitors in the summer months when it's easier to get around these roads.
Yeah, and also talking about relationships, you guys have a very special relationship with your employees. And Shiree and I are very fascinated by this aspect that it's employee owned, and we really wanted to go a little bit deeper into that with you, if you don't mind talking about that. And I think that's a great place to end our first part of the interview. Stay tuned for the next episode, part 2, where we will definitely dive into that employee ownership aspect of Golden Paintworks, because I would love to be able to offer part ownership and profit sharing with my employees. So I was very interested in hearing this. I think you will be too. And yeah, so stay tuned for the next installment of this very special episode of the Emerging Artist Podcast.